How did 4 Russian brigades end up trapped behind a river that wasn't there that morning? Why would Ukraine fire 3 rockets at a dam built to withstand the power of a river? Russia had one of the world's most powerful GPS jamming systems. So why didn't the rockets simply miss? What if the very thing that made a missile less accurate actually made this target easier to destroy?
And when Russia tried to blind the battlefield, Ukraine brought in a weapon that didn't need the airwaves at all. But why?
July 19th, 2026. 1540. Inside the command module, the air is thick with anticipation. 3 men, 1 mission. The variables are calculated. Hidden beneath the canopy, the HIMARS launcher waits. A silent sentinel of modern warfare, ready to strike from the shadows. The target sits miles away, a massive concrete monolith that anchors the region's defense. Today, its strength will be tested. 3 GMLRS rockets. Precision instruments of destruction, each carrying the weight of a strategic breakthrough. But the sky is not empty. GPS jamming begins to cloud the theater. Navigation signals flicker and fade as the invisible war for the spectrum intensifies. The Russian JTEL system. It's designed to hunt the signals that guide these rockets, turning precision into guesswork. The operator is focused. He believes the shield is holding. He believes the sky is closed. Then the silence breaks. The first rockets are away, cutting through the summer haze with a roar that can be felt in the marrow of your bones. They climb into the blue, leaving white scars across the heavens. They are no longer just missiles. High above, the duel begins. Steel meets frequency. Navigation systems struggle against the digital storm. The dam looms large, an immovable object about to meet an unstoppable force. Impact. Not a Hollywood explosion, but a series of precise structural strikes. The earth shudders as the concrete begins to groan. In the aftermath, a haunting quiet returns. But the damage is done. Aerial reconnaissance confirms the hit. Several critical sections have been damaged. The monolith is no longer impenetrable. At regional headquarters, the routine is shattered. Reports flood in, but the scale of the crisis is still being calculated. The river is the first to notice. The pressure is mounting, finding the new weaknesses in the concrete shell. It starts with a trickle, then a spray. The concrete that held for decades is finally giving way to the laws of physics. Below the dam, the current begins to shift. A transformation of the landscape is underway, driven by thousands of tons of escaping water. Their weapon? A new breed of drone. No radio signals, no conventional wireless link, just a thin thread of glass connecting pilot to aircraft. Then came the second phase. Ukraine turned to a weapon that the electronic shield could not easily silence. While the airwaves are choked with interference, Magyar's feed remains crystal clear. The electronic shield is useless against a physical connection. The flight is smooth, a digital hawk racing over the water. The pilot sees everything the jammer is trying to hide. From this height, the dam looks like a wounded giant, and the pilot is looking toward the damaged structure. Precision strikes continue. Each hit is surgical, expanding the fractures and accelerating the collapse. The trickle has become a torrent. The river is no longer being contained, it is being unleashed. The trickle has become a torrent. The river is no longer being contained, it is being unleashed. The breaking point. Thousands of tons of concrete give way, surrendered to the sheer force of the Donets River. The flood moves with terrifying speed, reclaiming the valley. What was once dry land is now a part of the river's path.
On the ground, confusion turns to panic. The water is rising faster than the orders can arrive.
The map was being rewritten in real time. High ground became an island. and the battlefield was suddenly divided by water. The current claimed the crossings. Equipment worth millions was swept downstream by a force no electronic jammer could touch.
The current claimed the crossings. Equipment worth millions was swept downstream by a force no electronic jammer could touch.
They were caught between two dangers. To the front, the enemy. Behind them, a river that had become a wall. The reservoir was draining. A 1-meter drop, an enormous volume of water now moving into the valley below. Analysts scrambled to assess the damage. The flood had not simply destroyed a dam, it had changed the geography of the entire sector. This wasn't just concrete and steel. The crossing had been part of a logistical network, and now that route was gone. Success in war is often dictated by the ground you stand on. Today, that ground was turning to mud. The response was swift. Russian radars hunted for the source of the strike, but the launcher was already moving. Shoot and scoot. The HIMARS team was already moving, disappearing into the forest before the response could find them. Speed was their only shield. Every second away from the launch site was another second closer to safety. They operated in silence, scattered across the front. A decentralized force capable of striking with remarkable precision. This was the new face of battle. A collision between electronic warfare and low-profile ingenuity. When the airwaves were jammed, the physical link became the lifeline. The fiber-optic connection remained unbroken. The Donets River had been transformed. It was no longer just a river. It had become a weapon of mass isolation. Thousands found themselves at the mercy of the water. In the modern age, the oldest element of all had reclaimed its power over the battlefield. As night fell, the true scale of the change became clear. The landscape had been altered, perhaps forever. July 19th, a day when concrete fell, a river rose, and the geography of war was rewritten. The flood didn't just change the terrain. It created a new front line, a physical barrier that every unit had to respect. In the halls of power, the math had changed. Strategic depth was now measured in water levels and flow rates. For Merrick and his crew, the mission was never truly over. But today, they could breathe. They had seen the earth itself join the fight. The people of the valley remained. They were the ones left to reclaim what the river had taken. In the end, war is a human endeavor, but nature always has the last word. The valley is